Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about Pigouvian text. Our present to be 5 parts. First part, externality in daily life. In economics, an externality is a cost or benefit that affects a party who did not choose to incur that cost or benefit. It can arise either during the production or the consumption of a good or service. Externality is in our daily life. For positive externality, increased education of individuals, as this can lead to broader society benefits in the form of greater economic productivity, a lower unemployment rate, greater household mobility, and a higher rate of political participation. Examples for negative production externalities include air pollution from burning fossil fuels. This activity causes damage to crops, buildings, and public health. Anthropogenic climate change as a consequence of greenhouse gas emissions from the burning of fossil fuels and the rearing of livestock. Many negative externalities are related to the environment consequence of production and use. The articles on environment economics also address the externality and how they may be addressed in the context of environment issues. There are several general types of solution to the problem of externalities, including both public and private sector resolution. Today we are going to talk about Pigouvian tax, which is used to redress economic injustice or imbalance. Negative externalities are created when people doing a thing don't need to pay the full burden of doing so. If you didn't get charged any money for burning lots of coal, why would you want to stop burning coal? As much as we would like to believe people want to conserve resources, it's not true. When you don't pay the full cost of something, you will overconsume it. We know people respond to incentive, so if we tax them so that they pay the full cost, they will reduce their consumption, thereby reducing the size of negative externality. The diagram illustrates the working of a Pigouvian tax. A tax shifts the marginal profit cost curve up by the amount of externality. If the tax is placed on the quantity of emissions from the factory, the producer has an incentive to reduce output to the socially optimal level. If the tax is placed on the percentage of emission per unit of production, the factory has the incentive to change to cleaner process or technology.
This part is about some examples of Pigouvian taxes. There are many types of Pigouvian taxes. I will show you three ones: gasoline tax, noisy tax, and the most common one, carbon tax. In terms of gasoline tax, United States taxes on gas and the revenue go to Highway Trust Fund to pay for roadway maintenance. For noisy tax, France taxes on airplanes in terms of the noise emission. The revenue go to soundproof houses that are exposed to noise level beyond 17 decibels. In China, Chinese government proposed to introduce carbon tax from 2012 based on carbon dioxide output from fuel sources such as oil and coal. Pigouvian tax does work. For example, in 2002, Ireland taxed on plastic bags. This policy weakened plastic bag usage from 94%. Another example is that the London charges for driving in central London during workday, which reduced the level of congestion. The final example is that Irish were faced with new carbon tax. Then people quickly shifted to green fuels and cars. Car-made companies try to make powerful cars with lower carbon emissions, and the policy also improves the development of wind industry.
Then let's talk about the two sides of the Pigovian taxes. Starting with the good side, Pigovian taxes discourage behaviors that create negative externalities and raise revenues to help those affected by the externality. For example, the charge for driving in central London changed people's behaviors that makes congestion inside the zone have fallen by a quarter. Besides, the change funds its transport system. Society can improve as a whole when transportation becomes more efficient and more individuals take public transportation or simply drive less, which can also reduce pollution. Therefore, Pigovian taxes generate a double dividend, as well as creating social benefits by pricing the income. They raise revenues that can be used to lower taxes elsewhere. For example, the Finnish carbon tax was part of a move away from taxes on labor. In Denmark, the tax partly funds pension contributions. However, there are several problems about the Pigovian taxes. Note that prices in the real world are no help. Their failure to incorporate social costs is the problem that needs to be solved. Getting people to review the precise cost to them of something like clogged roads is asking a lot. In areas like this, policymakers have had to settle on a mixture of pragmatism and public acceptability. London's initial £5 fee for driving into its city centre was suspiciously round for a sum meant to reflect the social cost of a trip. In fact, it's hard to precisely estimate the harm of an externality and set the level of the tax. Inevitably, a desire to raise revenue will also make policymakers set an unrealistic tax level. Moreover, there are equity issues. Pigovian taxes are regressive when they impose a harsher burden on the poor than the rich. Because it's a flat tax, Pigovian taxes take a greater percentage of a poor person's income. A $10 tax takes more out of $100 than it does out of $1,000. It becomes more regressive if it is imposed on goods and services the poor are more likely to use. For example, cigarette taxes are regressive Pigovian tax. A 2050 Gallup poll found that the lowest earning fifth allocate 1.3% of their spending on cigarettes compared to 0.3% for the highest earning fifth. On the positive side, low-income people are more responsive to higher Pigovian taxes. The poorest half of smokers reduced their cigarette consumption 4 times more than the richest half did. As a result, the poor paid 11.9% of the tax increase, but received 46.3% of the benefit as measured by fewer deaths. Therefore, Pigovian taxes have two sides.
In summary, we can conclude three main features about Pigovian tax. Firstly, although Pigo tax has some disadvantages, it is a worldwide used tool to solve negative externality. Secondly, effectiveness. Pigovian tax is effective to encourage government to put money back into society, protect environment, as well as provide essential infrastructure. However, the most important is that it can reduce negative externality. In addition, Pigo admitted that his prescriptions were weak. Although he believed taxes on damaging industries could benefit society, he did not say which ones, let alone define how to set the level of the tax. Overall, Pigo handled a problem and a solution, elegant in theory but tricky in practice. But he was sure that the effort was worthwhile, since economics, he said, was an instrument for the bettering of human life. That's all. Thanks for your attention.